We had lots of different ideas of how to approach the score and how to approach the music and the film. I mean, and it was really, it was very fluid, really. I mean, the first time we met and we had like a kind of, we kind of went through the whole film, the whole script, and we almost kind of like spotted like, okay, this is where we want to have this kind of music and that kind of music. And then I think just like the nature of the film, like, being a process film, it changed a lot during the process, which I think it kind of, this type of work, which is exactly about process, needs to be in process, and it needs to be like not set in stone.
What's so great about that, like you referenced the orchestra piece for Petra, which is, we were constantly in process. We were going back and forth, and that process was actually informing the filming, and it was informing the post. So we were experimenting all the time, and so this album is a sort of a true expression of that experimentation, and it's as much a part of the film as anything.
I try to not get stuck in any one place, so I try to be open to just whatever I'm doing brings me, and I try to use everything in the process. For me, it's important not to get stuck also, behind the computer or behind the keyboard or behind anything that's too fixed. And if I always work at the same place, I feel like I'll become too rigid, so I just try to move around a lot, and then I try to just kind of follow my curiosity to kind of where it goes. So I try to have like curiosity, almost like this carrot that I just keep keep following. But the great thing about film music specifically is that every project is so different. So you can kind of approach every project just from like a totally clean slate and from an empty page, and you kind of have to start totally from zero, I think, for every project. Like I don't have like a template that I work in. I just approach like normally from the script on. I read the script, and then I try to imagine like a sound world that would work for the script and for the story. So it's a very kind of physical sensation for me to live inside the story. So I try to, from the script on, I try to kind of imagine, what the tempo is, how the characters are moving, like how the surroundings are, and from that point on, like how the sound world, like what is the world that we're living in, and how can sound and music and timbre enhance that and kind of bring out the kind of important aspects that you can't maybe see with your eyes, because I think the great thing about sound and music is that you can be really sneaky with it, so you can really have a huge influence on people's emotional landscape without them really noticing, So I kind of start to imagine like, okay, where can I seep in the places where the camera can't reach, because it's a very different sensory experience, I think, the ears and the eyes, and
Absolutely.
yeah. That's very fun. It's a fun process. It's so interesting to record, especially when you're recording with a big group of musicians, because it's such a fragile process, really, and you have to I think it's really interesting, like to look at like how to get a group of people into the same state, like into really the same feeling, because you can be technical all you want and use like very kind of strict words of technique or or dynamics or whatever, but it is at the end of the day, it's really the feeling that you want to get to that's so like, I think that's where the magic is. And when you're recording, you have just like a limited amount of takes basically before people start to drift or they start to like lose focus or like, you know, lose their presence. So I think it's so interesting, like how to communicate like in that process, and how to really like, you know, get people with you, especially in that sense. Like I wasn't even there. Like I had COVID, so I had to do like a remote session on Zoom, which is like near impossible. Like, you know, to do this, you know, from afar. You're like when you do a recording session and you really, because there's also just like, you know, ways of interacting with, you know, especially like an orchestra, there's so many players, so it can be, I think it's easy to have like distance to what the like this giant animal of you know, this group of people is doing. It's easy to lose connection to the people like that are playing, and I just felt like when I work with orchestras to like really get involved with them personally and like engage them, and I think like, you know, really bring them into the process of creating this thing together. Like it's so beautiful, and I feel like people are so happy when you've gone through a process like that, when you're like really creating something together, even though it's like lots of people, but you're really kind of you know, you're performing it together, like you're really engaged in the same emotion. You know, I think it's so magical when that comes together.